infra, investment and IT, India's 3I imperative. In fact, we have a keynote interview, Kartik, with the minister at the Global Summit, and you're going to be doing that. What are you going to be asking him?
Yeah, thankfully I'm not alone, and I'll have Rakesh also with me doing that interview. But
it's the two of you.
So, I think it's a very interesting subject because like Krishna mentioned, right at the start of this discussion, that we can't look at infrastructure in isolation because India's overall investments, and in fact the 3 I's are infrastructure, investment and IT.
Right.
In fact, there is a confluence of all three which are making up the India story. And I think it's important to look at it in that context, and especially with Mr. Vaishnav sitting there. My focus is largely going to be to understand, because IT now being disrupted as we know it, as we live and breathe with artificial intelligence, I think that is going to be the next big disruptor when we talk about India's IT success and replicating that in the era of artificial intelligence. But very closely linked to that, in fact, pretty much giving it the foundation, is also going to be the manufacturing to enable smarter, cheaper, more efficient, affordable AI solutions, which will come through GPUs. Now, GPUs, as we know, the hegemony is right now controlled by 2 countries alone, one being US with NVIDIA and the other being China with Huawei.
Right.
There isn't any other GPU maker worth his or her salt which can power this AI revolution. And go one level deeper than that, you've got the entire semiconductor fab manufacturing story, and which is where IT gets directly linked with investment. And that investment is going to obviously happen only, and there is enough allocation. PLI, for example, is a 1.97 lakh crore rupee corpus outlay which has been earmarked, and in addition to that, there is a separate 76,000 crore rupee outlay for enabling semiconductors. So there's a massive incentive which the government is already putting to attract these manufacturers of semiconductors. And that again gets linked back to infrastructure, because eventually what they're putting up by way of plants and factories is infrastructure. So this trinity of 3I gets converged in one man, who is Ashwini Vaishnav, and I think it's going to be exciting to get his vision on how India's AI story is going to play out in the context of these 3 I's.
The kind of catching up that we have to do, Krishna, it's unbelievable. When demonetization happened in 2016, the newspapers had like a front page thing on saying that how to use, UPI, how to use a mobile phone, payments. The next page of the newspaper had a thing on how to use toilets. That's the kind of thing that you're talking of, catching up. You're building toilets and you're talking about
a watershed moment in history.
That's the kind of catching up that you have to do.
I have to ask you this, now that we're talking, he's rightly pointed out, we have a lot of catching up to do. We are, backed by the right kind of investments and the right kind of focus on investments to catching up to do. And in that sense, we have the right person in the form of Mr. Ashwini Vaishnav, who's at the helm of affairs to do this, to accomplish this, isn't it, Rakesh ji?
I was on a show with Sandeep the other day, and I identified 4 I's: infrastructure, investment, inclusion and indigenization. Read Make in India. I wanted to add a B there. What Mr. Modi has done, he has empowered bureaucracy like never before. Because there's been a history of mistrust between various governments and the bureaucracy. It's a parallel power center, if I can dare say so. What Mr. Modi has done, he has mainstreamed bureaucracy in the political arena. So when you bring them in as the drivers of change, not just implementing, but also imagining a policy under overall leadership of Mr. Modi. So if you see his cabinet, all the core economic ministries are manned by
former bureaucrats,
former babus. And in this case, Mr. Ashwini Vaishnav mans 3 of them. So that's why it's extremely important, and he's the right qualification, and I dare say the right experience to do that. He comes from the best of the private sector. He's, so to say, dirtied his hand being a bureaucrat, and then, his management experience comes into play. I wish India needs, and pray that we need more and more of such, professionals coming into politics, and then finally being vested with the Lok Sabha route rather than the Rajya Sabha route, because that will, further empower this bureaucracy, the B element. So in that sense, he's the best guy for the bed that we have.
He is. In fact,
coming to the core of it, to my mind, the big challenge is that we have taken so much pride in our IT story and continue to do that. But the IT story globally has moved way forward, and there are new challenges. We have to reimagine the Indian IT story. And if we want to use that IT success story so far as the template to reimagine our AI or our semiconductor, then we are grossly mistaken. So I think first and foremost, when we talk about building our export basket and using services as the key area, we have to relook at our IT, as the key driver. The entry of GCCs, moving away from the comfort zone of lower end of the spectrum but high volumes game for the IT sector, which gave us decades of guaranteed growth, is no longer the solution, neither in terms of sustaining our current position nor taking us forward to the next level. So, Mr. Vaishnav has, as I said, the right credentials to drive this trinity. At the same time, I think it needs a little more, pushing of the global investing community. If there are not many countries, Kartik is right, who have given this kind of a, I would call it the red carpet welcome. One is intent. Execution is the case here. You actually got the big money in your hand. I would have been happier imagining many more big companies in these two spaces coming to India. On AI front also, we have the ethical lead to my mind, but that is not going to be good enough. We need really to dirty our hands on the table, on the ground, to actually get the best of the AI play that's happening all over the world.
On that note, Mr. Khar, let's watch that documentary that Kartik put out on our AI story. Let's watch.
I'm not careful with creating artificial general intelligence, we could have potentially a catastrophic outcome.
AI is going to be such a large part of our future and is so complicated and moving so fast.
Going to be an existential threat to their work.
This AI cannot go in wrong hands.
I think if this technology goes wrong, it can go quite wrong.
President Trump is a total and complete dipshit, like Jordan Peele.
As an actor, I pretend for a living.
As if pretending that climate change wasn't real.
Wow, Rahul Baba. Arey Modi ji, dekhe to sahi.
In the future, are you intending to conduct a rebellion or to rebel against your boss, your creator?
I think AI will have to be regulated. The quicker, the better.
So while we're talking about AI, there's also that focus that we need to give our growth engines like Mumbai and Bengaluru. The background that you're looking at here is the Atal Setu, the Trans-Harbour link. And that actually talks about the kind of money that the government is pushing into Mumbai for the first time. And that's why you call it Maximizing Mumbai. So let's watch that story, Maximizing Mumbai by Kiran Tare.
The longest sea bridge in India is now open, and the Mumbai Trans-Harbour Link is 4 times bigger than the Bandra-Worli Sea Link. It will help Mumbai's notoriously long commutes become shorter. It will help slash the 3-hour journey from Shivdi to Alibag by 165 minutes. You can reach the mainland in just 15 minutes. And this is just the beginning of Mumbai's makeover. A toll-free coastal road connecting Marine Drive to the Bandra-Worli Sea Link is next in line.
Mumbai's makeover is a 5-pronged initiative. 14 metro lines will connect the city across 333 kilometers. A 22-kilometer long Trans-Harbour Bridge will zip vehicles to the mainland in 15 minutes instead of 3 hours. A 29-kilometer coastal road will slash travel time from Nariman Point to Versova by 2 hours. A new international airport at Navi Mumbai will decongest air travel in India's commercial capital. 11-kilometer long twin tunnels will slash travel time between Thane and Borivali to 15 minutes from 90 minutes at present.
We must overinvest in Mumbai infrastructure. Why I'm saying overinvest? Because there's been an underinvestment so far. And remember, the contribution that Mumbai makes to the national GDP with its current financial status, and also the economic potential it has, it will give us many-fold returns. So if you invest X and you do X plus, the returns in terms of the economic play would be X plus plus plus.
Streaming on News9 Plus. News is now content. Subscribe and get free vouchers.